that just goes to show you how far the homosexual movement within hip-hop and sports still needs to go. Practically burned at the stake for talking about such. And now it's all come full circle.
Imagine being locked away, your fortune drained, your voice erased, all because you knew too much about the wrong people. That's the nightmare Wendy Williams has allegedly been living for years. And if insiders are right, Nicki Minaj could be next. We're talking about a calculated takedown, where powerful players weaponize mental health labels to silence outspoken stars, seize their wealth, and bury their secrets. And the timing? Too perfect to ignore. It all starts with Wendy's sudden diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia, a condition her own family and close associates now claim she never had. Court documents, medical evaluations, and even her own public appearances told one story, but behind the scenes, sources say the truth was far darker. Wendy's guardianship wasn't about her well-being. It was about control, and the moment her legal team pushed back, the cracks in the narrative began to show. We've learned that just days ago, a top neurologist, one who examined Wendy extensively, confirmed what she's been screaming for years. The dementia label was wrong. Not just wrong, allegedly fabricated. A misdiagnosis so convenient it raises questions about who stood to gain from her silence. Let's rewind to 2022, when Wells Fargo first petitioned the court, claiming Wendy was of unsound mind and at risk of financial exploitation. The bank's filing came right as Diddy's legal troubles were heating up. Remember, this was the same time his name was surfacing in multiple lawsuits, including Cassie's explosive claims. Wendy, never one to hold back, had spent years dropping hints about Diddy's private life, from that infamous Cancun incident to her on-air jabs about his relationships. Sources close to her camp say she was preparing to go further, until the guardianship locked her down. Coincidence? Or was this the ultimate way to ensure she couldn't testify, couldn't speak out, couldn't become a liability?
Hip-hop wearing skirts, or hip-hop being closeted and having a plethora of kids to prove manhood, that, and denial of something that...
Then there's the money. Wendy's estate has been bled dry under guardianship, $25,800 a month for a luxury memory care facility she calls a dump, legal fees stacking up, her assets sold off. Her son, Kevin Jr., publicly questioned why she was diagnosed with dementia while still being allowed to consume substances that would worsen such a condition. Her family was cut off, her cats were rehomed. And through it all, Wendy passed independent evaluations proving her competence, evaluations the court allegedly ignored, until now. Because here's the kicker. The moment Diddy's most recent legal storm cleared, Wendy's diagnosis magically came under review. The timing isn't just suspicious, it's a pattern, and that's where Nicki Minaj comes in. She's been sounding the alarm for months, warning that the same forces behind Wendy's takedown are circling her. Why? Because Nicki, like Wendy, has a history of clashing with industry titans, Diddy included. Remember their explosive feud in 2019 when Wendy called Nicki's husband a felon on air, and Nicki fired back with a scathing, unfiltered rant about Wendy's personal life? That wasn't just tabloid drama. Insiders say it was a power move, a test. Because Nicki didn't just defend her marriage, she exposed Wendy's vulnerabilities in a way that made the industry take notice. And now, with Wendy's case unraveling, Nicki's warnings are looking less like paranoia and more like prophecy.
To this, right? So Nicki Minaj is on X right now, and she is sounding off following our interview with Gucci Mane and Keisha Kayor, his wife, and she says, Gucci wife has been trying to be me for years, been for the spotlight for years. She's there to keep Gucci sedated.
Here's the cold reality. Conservatorships and guardianships aren't just legal tools. They're weapons. Britney Spears proved that. In Wendy's case, it's the blueprint. Both women were single when their lives were upended. Britney was under her father's control. Wendy was divorced, her son sidelined. But Nicki, she's married. And that marriage, according to industry whispers, is the only thing standing between her and the same fate. Because if you're married, your spouse inherits your estate, not a court-appointed guardian. That's why, sources claim, the PR machine has already started spinning narratives about Nicki's stability. The moment she's labeled erratic, the moment her mental state is questioned, the machinery kicks in. And let's not forget, Nicki's been vocal about everything from industry corruption to the pressures on female rappers. She's a target. Now, let's talk about the players allegedly pulling the strings. Wendy's guardianship attorney Sabrina Morrissey has been accused of profiting off her confinement, $250 to $450 an hour, while Wendy's family fights just to see her. Then there's Wells Fargo, the bank that triggered this whole ordeal. Why would a financial institution push so hard unless there was something, or someone, bigger behind it? And let's not overlook the timing of Wendy's reemergence. She's suddenly allowed to attend Fashion Week, to give interviews, to hint at a comeback. But why now? Because the threat she posed is gone. Diddy's legal battles have quieted. The industry's attention has shifted. And Wendy? She's no longer a liability. She's a cautionary tale.
In a court proceeding that has nothing to do with Wendy's career. Moreover, that were made in front of Wendy Williams. If true, that is outrageous because this judge, one, she's not in the entertainment industry. So I don't know where she would get off opining about that and why that's even relevant to her role as a judge, who's basically the judge of the law, and in this case, judge of the facts.
But here's what keeps us up at night. If this could happen to Wendy, who's next? Nicki's already called out Jay-Z and Roc Nation, accusing them of using media allies to undermine her. She's pointed to Charlamagne Tha God's recent interviews as part of a smear campaign, another piece of the puzzle. And if you look at the pattern, it's chilling. Britney, Wendy, now Nicki. All women who dared to challenge the status quo. All women whose personal lives were weaponized against them. All women who, at their most vulnerable, found themselves trapped in a system designed to silence them. The question isn't just about Wendy's freedom anymore. It's about how deep this goes. Because if the industry can allegedly fabricate a dementia diagnosis to control one star, what's stopping them from doing it to another? And another? The moment Nicki tweeted about the COVID vaccine, her career trajectory shifted. The moment she started calling out powerful men, the whispers about her stability grew louder. Sound familiar? We're not just watching a scandal unfold, we're watching a playbook. And if Wendy's guardianship was the test run, Nicki Minaj might be the next target. The only difference? Nicki's husband is the wild card, the legal shield they didn't account for. But make no mistake, the machinery is already in motion. The moment she slips up, the moment she's deemed unfit, the vultures will circle. And if Wendy's story tells us anything, it's that the truth doesn't matter. Only the narrative does.
They looking good, breaking records, you going viral for having a weird-shaped ass, and you ain't dropped no music that's doing well in a long time, and now you're no longer the reigning queen of anything. That's now debatable.
But nah,
so she acting up. She don't know how to handle it. If you a queen sitting on the top of the world, bro, for 15 years with Lil Wayne and Drake, unopposed. That's like you running your hood for a decade, 15 years, and then a group of little young get the cracking, and you like.
So let's ask the real question. Who benefits from Wendy's silence? Who stands to gain from Nicki's downfall? And how many other stars are already trapped in this system, their voices stolen, their fortunes plundered, all while the world looks the other way? Because if Wendy's misdiagnosis wasn't an accident, if it was a calculated move to protect someone's secrets, then we're not just talking about one woman's fight for freedom. We're talking about an industry that's learned how to disappear its critics. And Nicki Minaj? She's next on the list. The only question is, who's after her? The moment Wendy Williams' divorce from Kevin Hunter finalized in 2020, insiders say the vultures started circling. Here was a woman who'd spent decades as hip-hop's most feared truth-teller, someone who'd gone toe-to-toe with Diddy on air, who'd hinted at secrets powerful enough to derail careers, and who'd just lost her primary legal shield. Without a spouse to inherit her estate, her finances became vulnerable. And when Diddy's legal battles reached a fever pitch in 2022, Wendy's sudden incapacitation looked less like a medical emergency and more like a strategic silence. Remember, this was the same year Cassie's lawsuit dropped, the same year old whispers about Diddy's private life resurfaced in court filings. Wendy, who'd once joked on air about having the receipts on him, was suddenly deemed unfit to manage her own affairs. Coincidence? Or was this the ultimate way to ensure she couldn't add her voice to the growing chorus?
Because she wanted to put up a picture of him getting his pants pulled down.
Let's not forget Wendy's radio days, the era when she wasn't just a gossip queen but a legitimate threat. Back in the late 90s, she was the one who outed industry figures' private lives with a smirk, who tangled with Diddy so aggressively that, according to her own memoir, he got her fired from Hot 97. She'd later claim on air that she had evidence of his compromising situations, phrases that, at the time, sounded like tabloid fodder but now read like a blueprint for motive. Fast forward to 2021, and Wendy's show is canceled. By 2022, she's in guardianship, and by 2023, her diagnosis is frontotemporal dementia, a condition that, conveniently, affects speech and judgment, the very tools she'd used to build her empire. Yet here's the glaring contradiction. In the Lifetime documentary that aired last year, Wendy appeared lucid enough to negotiate with producers, to crack jokes, to even seethe about her confinement. She passed psychological evaluations, she fought her legal team in court, and still, the diagnosis stuck. Until now. What changed? The legal landscape. Diddy's most recent cases have either settled or quieted. The heat's off, and suddenly, Wendy's incurable condition is being reconsidered. That's not medicine. That's timing. And if you follow the money, the picture gets darker. Wells Fargo, the bank that initiated her guardianship, has been accused in court filings of conflicts of interest, with allegations that its lawyers donated to the judge overseeing Wendy's case. Her guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, bills hundreds of dollars an hour while Wendy's family fights for basic visitation rights. Meanwhile, Wendy's son, Kevin Jr., has publicly questioned why his mother was diagnosed with dementia while still being allowed to consume substances that would exacerbate such a condition. A detail that makes the whole arrangement smell less like care and more like control. And let's not overlook the fact that Wendy's apartment was sold at a loss, her designer wardrobe liquidated, her pets rehomed. This wasn't protection, it was an erasure.
Is he this gangster that behind the scenes is that him? Or is that
Shout out to Wendy Williams.
But here's the part no one's talking about. The psychological demolition. This isn't just about locking Wendy away. It's about making her question her own mind. Think about it. One day, you're a sharp-tongued queen of media. The next, you're handed a dementia diagnosis you don't recognize, surrounded by lawyers and doctors who insist you're confused. Your family's kept at arm's length. Your public appearances are stage-managed to make you look frail. Even your memories become ammunition. See? She can't recall that interview from 2019. Clearly, she's declining. It's gaslighting on an industrial scale, a slow-motion coup where the goal isn't just control, but the complete unraveling of a person's confidence. And the kicker? The more Wendy fought back, demanding second opinions, raging against her confinement, the more her defiance was used as proof of instability. That's not medicine. That's a trap. Now, let's layer in the financial ghost story. While Wendy was trapped in her luxury prison, insiders whispered that her assets didn't just vanish. They were redirected. Multiple sources, including a former accountant linked to Diddy's bad boy records, have hinted at irregularities in Wendy's financial audits. We're talking about transfers to shell companies with names that sound like legitimate media ventures, but trace back to offshore accounts tied to figures in Diddy's orbit. One such entity, registered in the Cayman Islands under the bland title Urban Legacy Holdings, allegedly received a 7-figure wire from Wendy's estate in early 2023, right as her guardianship was being upheld. The paperwork, if it exists, would show these as licensing fees for old radio clips. But here's the problem. Wendy hadn't worked in radio for years. So where's the product? And why does the same Cayman address pop up in filings for a defunct Diddy-affiliated production company? The math isn't just fuzzies, it's incriminating.
5 years ago. He had a mild one coming maybe 2 years ago, and I caught it. So now I catch them before they come. And like people be saying stuff about him like, oh, he's soft, he's this, he that. The madman is still there. So I try my best. I don't want them to provoke him because it will come back.
Yeah.
And he's very dangerous. So y'all listen, please leave him alone.
And this is where the dominoes get shaky. If Wendy's misdiagnosis was a smokescreen for asset stripping, then the mental health playbook isn't just a silencing tool. It's a financial heist in plain sight. Imagine the panic if those audits ever leak. We're not just talking about Wendy's freedom. We're talking about a paper trail that could expose how conservatorships are used to launder reputations and money. Because if Diddy's circle, or anyone else's, was siphoning funds under the cover of Wendy's care, then every other star under guardianship becomes a potential liability. Britney's estate, Amanda Bynes' trusts, even West's frozen accounts. The moment one audit unravels, the whole system gets exposed as a racket. And that's why sources say Wendy's sudden improvement isn't mercy, it's damage control. Because the last thing these players want is a lucid Wendy Williams with a lawyer, a microphone, and a ledger. Now, let's talk about Nicki Minaj. Because if Wendy's case is the blueprint, Nicki is the next test subject. The difference? Nicki's married. And in the world of conservatorships, that's a game changer. Remember Britney's nightmare? She was single, her father in control. Wendy? Divorced, her son sidelined. But Nicki's husband, Kenneth Petty, is the legal roadblock the industry didn't anticipate. If they tried to declare her unfit, her estate would default to him, not a court-appointed guardian. That's why sources say the smear campaign against Nicki isn't just about her mental state. It's about dismantling her marriage. Because if they can paint Petty as a liability, if they can make Nicki's defense of him look like delusion, they weaken her legal armor. And let's be clear, Nicki's been vocal about this. She's called out Roc Nation, Jay-Z's empire, for allegedly using media allies to undermine her. She's warned that the same forces behind Wendy's takedown are circling her. And if you look at the pattern, it's terrifying.
That I like listen to. I like listening to all of them. I support everybody. Now, as far as this battle goes, Nicki Minaj is the queen of rap, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Consider the playbook. Step 1, label the target as unstable. Britney was erratic. Wendy was cognitively impaired. Nicki? She's been called paranoid for speaking out, her rants framed as meltdowns rather than warnings. Step 2, isolate them. Britney's family cut her off. Wendy's were blocked by legal red tape. Nicki? Watch how her inner circle gets scrutinized, how every public dispute with Petty gets amplified. Step 3, control the narrative. Britney's conservatorship was sold as protection. Wendy's guardianship was framed as care. Nicki's eventual takedown, if it comes, will be spun the same way. And the scariest part? It works. Because once the label sticks, once the court papers are filed, the burden of proof flips. The star has to prove they're not a risk, an impossible task when the system's rigged against them. But here's where the pattern gets even more sinister. Wendy and Nicki aren't the only ones. Nicki. Look at Yeah, labeled unstable the moment he started calling out industry power players, his finances temporarily frozen, his public statements used to question his competence. Look at Amanda Bynes, whose conservatorship began after she clashed with Hollywood's elite. Look at Michael Jackson, whose final years were spent under a haze of concern from those who stood to inherit his empire. The script is always the same. A star speaks out. The machine labels them a liability. And suddenly, their autonomy is for their own good. And let's not pretend this is about health. If it were, Wendy would have been allowed to see her family. Nicki's concerns would have been addressed, not mocked. No, this is about silence. This is about ensuring that the people who know too much can't talk. And if Nicki's marriage is the only thing standing between her and Wendy's fate, you better believe the industry's working overtime to dismantle it.
But there may be some validity in what she be saying about how people be switching up on her all the time. Cause girl, what?
Now, let's connect the dots. Wendy's guardianship escalated when Diddy's legal troubles peaked. Nicki's warnings started when her own clashes with industry figures, Diddy included, became public. Both women have histories of calling out powerful men. Both have been framed as difficult or unhinged when they push back. And both conveniently found their personal lives weaponized against them. Wendy's divorce left her exposed. Nicki's marriage is her shield, but shields can be broken. And if the industry's learned one thing from Wendy's case, it's that a well-timed diagnosis can override reality. All it takes is the right doctor, the right judge, and a PR machine ready to spin concern into control. So let's ask the hard question. How many other stars are already trapped in this system? How many voluntary rehab stints, private health retreats, or temporary guardianships are actually gag orders in disguise? Because if Wendy's misdiagnosis wasn't an accident, if Nicki's warnings aren't paranoia, then we're not just watching individual scandals. We're watching an industry perfect its silencing tactics. And the moment a star's value as an asset outweighs their threat as a whistleblower, the machinery activates. Wendy was the test run. Nicki could be the next victim. And if we don't start asking who's pulling the strings, we're all complicit in letting it happen.
The judge in the guardianship read Alex Finney the Riot Act, threatened her and said, you're talking, making an accusation that she's talking to the media. And if you continue doing it, I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do that to you. There is a gag order in this case. I can tell you that the judge has scared a lot of people involved in the case.
The truth is, this isn't just about Wendy or Nicki. It's about a system that's learned how to disappear its critics. One diagnosis, one conservatorship, one concerned interview at a time. And if we've learned anything from Wendy's fight, it's that the moment you start connecting the dots, the moment you realize how many careers have been ended this way, the whole thing stops looking like coincidence. It starts looking like a purge. So tell us, do you think Nicki stands a chance? Or is this the beginning of something even darker? Drop your thoughts below, because this story isn't over. It's only getting started. And trust us, you're not going to want to miss what happens next. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and as always, we'll see you in the comments.